So, you're in your lazy girl era. Basically, you're in a toxic relationship with your very clingy bed. You spend hours and hours either scrolling on your phone or staring blankly at your wall, and overall, your life is just falling apart and basically one giant hot mess express. So, if you're sick and tired of feeling disappointed every New Year's and like you wasted the past year, do not fear, for in this video, I will go over 12 non-basic habits that will transform your life and get you out of your rut. So the first habit is to take the supplements or vitamins every day that you need, and for this, it's super important to get into the habit of going to the doctor regularly, at the very least once a year, and then knowing your blood test results and what they mean. For instance, I transferred to a new primary care doctor early last year, and she added an iron panel to my blood test, and it turned out that I was very iron deficient. I started taking iron supplements and focusing on eating iron-rich foods, and voila, my chronic tiredness and fatigue, waves of anxiety, and feelings of constant coldness miraculously disappeared, all because I started focusing on taking more iron. So it's really important to regularly check up on how our body is doing, especially if we're not feeling great, since you could have a genuine biological reason for your lazy girl era rut that you just don't know about yet. So habit number 2 is strength training. You see, studying for long hours as a student is an extreme sport. We spend hours and hours crouched over our textbooks, and all that sitting is wreaking havoc on our backs, legs, and just muscles overall. I started doing regular strength training late last year, and I was shocked with how my back pain just disappeared and my posture improved, and just how much easier basic movements like walking upstairs or picking up groceries felt. So strength training can not only be great for achieving your dream aesthetic body, but also for just feeling less pain and preventing future muscle and health problems later on in life. You can make a super simple list of basic body weight strength exercises that you can do in your room, and then just do them during your study breaks or free time. This way, especially if you're new to exercising or just exiting your rut, you don't have to take all of the extra steps of getting dressed to go run outside or to drive to the gym. So next up is to deep clean your rooms regularly. So let's just say I did not inherit the neat freak gene from my mom, and for the longest time I would cut corners with my cleaning routine. That is until one glorious day I finally decided to deep clean my room and realized there was like 1,000 years worth of dust under my bed and on top of my fan, and this is going to sound insane, but even on my walls. That's right, I discovered that the top half of my walls had like an inch layer of dust on them. So after being thoroughly traumatized by that wonderful experience, I never skimped on dusting every nook and cranny of my room ever again, and surprise surprise, my nasal congestion that I had every morning gradually disappeared. So yeah, it's great to get into the habit of like once a month at least thoroughly cleaning and dusting your room, because there are actually pretty strong negative health effects of sleeping in and constantly being in a dusty room, and you never know where that dust is hiding. Also, for the next habit, if you want to have a fresh start to the new year or just reset any time of the year, you don't have to do a full-blown room makeover. Instead, try just rearranging or moving your furniture around. Even if you're using the same furniture as before, the new setup can make it feel like you have a fresh new room. Also, you can get into the habit of putting little seasonal decor every few months. So if you change it up every season, this can make the room feel different and unique and just help you get into the mood of the season and just reset your mind. Alright, so the next habit is to set up your outfit for the following day the night before, so that you don't have to think about it in the morning when you're rushing to school or work. That way you can really put your thought into how you want to look and take the time to look presentable and fabulous the following day. Okay, so this habit is having or making and maintaining a capsule wardrobe. So basically, it's great to regularly go through your closet and see if you have any clothes you don't need or you don't like anymore or just doesn't fit and you want to give it away and donate it. I highly recommend then making a capsule wardrobe, which is basically where you have a limited number of pieces of tops, bottoms, etc., and then you just alternate them to create different outfits. That way you save space in your closet and you only keep your favorite or cutest pieces, and you don't have to struggle with choosing what to wear because you know that you like everything that you have. Okay, so habit number 7 is focusing on fiber. Basically just eating healthier overall, but specifically trying to get more fiber in your diet. A lot of the times when we think about eating healthier, we think about just removing certain foods from our diets like junk food or sugar or processed foods, but we don't really focus on what we should be adding to our diets. So last year I read this book, How Not to Die by Dr. Greger, which basically talked about how having a plant-based diet and one high in vegetables and fiber is super important, and he has this list list of foods that we should include each day called the Daily Dozen. But even if you can't hit all of the requirements, the most impactful I would say were beans, vegetables, and even buckwheat, since they added a lot of fiber into my lifestyle and also really helped with my digestion overall. So the next habit is to have a bias for action. The best way to do this is to use a simple and efficient planning system that actually works for you and isn't a form of procrastination. Several years back, I realized that I basically had an addiction to planning. I would spend hours and hours making vision boards, 5-year plans with every month in detail, all the while I was behind on homework, not making YouTube videos, not exercising or eating healthy at all, and basically doing nothing for any of my goals. Eventually, I realized that I had to change my relationship with planning and primarily focus on what I need to do right now and stay grounded in the present to just get started. So I decided to use Notion to have a digital planning system, and I used Skillshare, the sponsor of today's video, to learn how to customize and create a Notion planning system that actually worked for me. Skillshare is the largest online learning community with thousands of classes led by industry pros, with topics ranging from study tips, YouTube editing and channel growth, writing, productivity, and more. Skillshare even offers learning paths, which are hand-picked sequential classes that help you deepen your skill set with a set of curated classes that build on one another. The learning paths are available in a range of experience levels, so from beginner to advanced, and also contain a large variety of categories. So the new year is the perfect time to invest in yourself and your goals. So if you want to take your planning to the next level, I recommend checking out the learning path, the Supercharge Your Productivity with Notion path, which contains many of the videos that I used when learning how to use Notion, since it's perfect for anyone looking to learn about how to make a planning system in Notion and utilize all of its tools. So after going through and completing the classes, I was able to create my own Notion dashboard and even templates. So if you want to check out Skillshare for their awesome classes and learning paths, be sure to check out the description box of this video, since the first 500 people to use my link will receive a 1-month free trial to Skillshare. I'm also going to go over a more in-depth look into my bias for action planning system in a future video, but the main gist is that nowadays I have a habit of making a list of 3 things I absolutely must do in each category of my life, and I make sure that I do them before I start thinking about or doing anything else. This ties into the habit of showing up for things you either absolutely dread or constantly procrastinate on. You've probably heard of the 5-second rule or just do it, but it is true that the hardest part of doing something is actually just starting. So I have this rule called 5 minutes better, which is basically where you set a timer for 5 minutes and just try to make a task or chore 5 minutes better, because it teaches me that doing even just a little bit of something is better than completely putting it off for the next day. It sort of ends the all or nothing approach that leads us to put off entire tasks day after day, since we're not in the mood or the conditions aren't perfect. Also, it's great to get into the habit of tracking yourself for the habits or activities you want to improve in. I've noticed overall that I am far more likely to stick to something when I track my progress. There's actually a psychological phenomenon tied around streaks, but basically when we have a streak of doing a certain amount of days of something, we're far more likely to stick to it. So I like to keep track of how long of a streak I have, since it helps me stay consistent. So habit number 11 is making sure to regularly check and manage your finances. Okay, now I understand if you're in middle or high school and you don't have a job yet, this probably isn't relevant to you, but still, if you have any savings, or if you have an allowance, or you ever just spend money or make money, then it's great to start trying to be financially savvy now. Also, soon you'll probably have to deal with college scholarships, financial aid, payments for university, etc. And it's great to start as early as possible managing whatever finances or savings that you do have right now, and learning to track your expenses, earnings, budget for the month, etc., since these skills will be super important once you become an adult and for the rest of your life. Last but certainly not least, make it a habit to regularly try new things and experiences. I recently realized that there are certain time periods of my life that I basically don't remember at all, because it was just day after day of mundane routine of studying, working, sleeping, exercising, repeat with everything being the same. That doesn't mean the days were bad or anything, but honestly, I can't distinguish them in my memory if you ask me to. But whenever I would try something new, like a pottery class or going to a farm I'd never been to, I can vividly vividly remember those moments even if it was years ago. And yeah, so I realized that time flies when you're not making memories and just living in day out routine, and that new experiences, even small ones, essentially slow time down and create hooks in our memory. So if there's one thing to do this year, try to change things up whenever you can. Obviously, I'm not saying to just up and quit everything and go traveling all the time unless you have the means to do so, but just try to go to new cafes or study spaces, visit new places around your hometown, try new board games with your family or friends, or just any new fun experiences with them, try new hobbies, and just try new things and make new memories this year so that it doesn't just go by in one giant blur. Ow! I just hit myself in the head with the lamp. Oh, that's what I get for stealing it. Okay, that was a fail. Let's try this again.